Hi, and welcome back to Florida's Best Practices for 4th grade. This unit is on numerical patterns, and I'm Amy. We all know with patterns, we can make it fun and sometimes kind of silly, because why was the number 6 so scared of 7? Because 7, 8, 9. We know that when we're doing patterns, it's not all about these funny and silly rhymes, but actually understanding what's happening in the pattern to get to those next numbers. In this unit, numerical patterns, students will be generating, describing, and extending a numerical pattern that follows a given rule. Here's also an example on the screen of a rule that they start at 0 and add 5 each time, and to generate the first 7 numbers given in the pattern. Students will create the pattern and describe the pattern. So what does student learning look like in the classroom for this unit? Students will be creating numerical patterns. Students can use pattern blocks and color tiles and shape patterns to help them create that numerical pattern. They can then create a chart for their pattern in order to see what is happening. They can extend the pattern on, and they can also describe the rule given for the pattern. What does student learning sound like in the classroom? Here are some sample math chat cards from STEMscopes. What can you say about the pattern in each game going from stage to stage? Having students describe the pattern that is happening in each section. What strategy did you use in order to determine the pattern and rule at each game? Having students describe the rule that is happening for the pattern. Did each game use the same operation for the rule? Having students determine what operation is happening in each of the different questions that they are doing. Here's some important vocabulary for this unit. Multiples, numerical pattern, pattern, and pattern rule. These are all vocabulary terms that students should be familiar with throughout this unit. How will students demonstrate their knowledge? Here are also some examples from STEMscopes where students will be creating and describing a pattern in this Explore activity. Students will be finding the missing part of the pattern, and this is in a Show What You Know. Students will also be using fluency builders. This one is a pattern spin where they can create and determine their own pattern. Here are some questions to ask to gauge student understanding. We can ask the students to identify the next 3 numbers in a pattern when starting with 3 and following the rule add 5. Students will tell us the next 3 numbers in the pattern when following that rule. We can ask students how would you describe the pattern and what do you notice? Students will have to describe a pattern and tell us the rule that is being followed. And then to identify the next 4 numbers in the pattern when starting at a certain number and following a certain rule. Students will tell us the next numbers and the given rule. An engaging task or activity to do at home. Something is called multiple multiples. Students can write the multiples of a certain number and determine if a number fits that multiple. For example, is 24 a multiple of 3? Yes, it is. Students can then continue writing multiples of different numbers and taking turns asking questions. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Best Practices for 4th grade Numerical Patterns. Make sure your students are following their rules, describing their rules, and extending the numbers in their pattern. We will see you next time.